we've dived back into more plot related stuff with Bone Collection. And I do enjoy Bone Collection. I've enjoyed this series so far. I think it's pretty interesting. I like the characters right now. I think they're pretty they've got some good potential. And then you have stuff like Aki Fuyu. I do like her already, like her design, her cool powers. And then, we recently got this samurai guy. He looks pretty cool. But as it were, we're now getting more like we're getting back to like stuff that's actually like more important to like the story, because for like we had that one with like Milk Boy, that chapter, which is more of like just a fun little detour chapter. But here where we've got like this like exorcist prison where all these yokai are being held and stuff going on with this QB. And I know that a lot of people are gonna think Naruto, but obviously the nine-tailed fox is something like much older in Japanese lore. So it's gonna be cool to see like the it be displayed in this series. And I'm still really hoping the series does well and like continues, and it doesn't get axed, because I like the author's style. I do like the art, like this panel right here, going into this island like with all these like big exorcist chains in it. I just think it looks really neat. And then like this bad guy, I just said like the panel I was talking about, and then I realized that I was using that for the thumbnail and not the chapter panel. This one, chapter panel, I'm obviously using the nine-tailed fox guy and his crew. But I like the art style, but at the times I think it's because the author is, I would guess, new. I haven't looked into see if they've done any series before. But like you get this part where I think it's just because the fox guy, his head looks a little bit. I feel like his head looks a little big in this. Maybe it's just me, or maybe it's because his maybe his arms just look a little small. But like the art is a little strange on him. But I think it's just like because it's it's in a smaller panel. Because like in the next part, you get like a closer up look at this guy's face. I think he looks more intimidating. But like these monsters look pretty cool. And you get panels like from this artist that look really nice. Like I just go back and look at when Aki Fuyu used that dragon technique. That looked great. But then you'll get kind of like scenes that look a little bit more chunky. And I think it's just like the author, the author probably hasn't gotten to like or I guess more of the manga. I'm pretty sure it's the same person. I haven't done enough research into them yet. But I think it's just maybe they haven't like got as like fast art drawing and used like the weekly style as some. If they end up staying around and Bone Collection, maybe sticks in with Shonen Jump, then hopefully in time they would get much more adept to the whole weekly style, and get a faster and more consistent art style. I do think that they have potential. I do like the art style, and I think that they have potential in both the series and better art coming up. But as it were, like the chapter kind of like is for the most part centered around these two girls who also use the yokai spell, and I was very curious to know like how exactly they were going to be orientated in this, because it seemed like they were both human. Like they said they were sisters, but we know that for the yokai spell, one of them has to be a yokai. And in here, it looks like one of them is half yokai, so I'm wondering if what that's going to mean for like any of these other people that know the yokai spell in the future, because we know there's more. We know there's mystery around like the technique, and there's some stuff going on that maybe like some characters are holding out information for something maybe more important. There's also stuff like, oh yeah, like a lot of these big like S plus ranked yokai are all like the former people who used the yokai spell that got controlled and lost their bodies and stuff. There's definitely some stuff the author has planned up, and if the series does well enough to continue, then I'm very intrigued to see where that kind of stuff goes, because I do think that holds some good potential villains, because I do like that they're going more off of like the older Japanese folklore style of monsters, but also like it'd be very easy for them in like an Exorcist style series to dip into other, like if the series does well and they like, oh well, we ran out of like using these Japanese yokai, cool, use yokai or use spirits and monsters from other countries. You could do a lot with that, just because there's always like creatures like monsters and spirits from like all over like the world that you can use, not just Japan. There's one I always think of just when I say that, because there's this couple series whenever I'm like, yeah, you can use monsters from other countries if they want to. There was like one Russian one that was like it looks just like a little hairy gremlin. I'm trying to remember exactly what it does. It has I just remember that the name had something to do with like grandpas or something. It was pretty funny, but it looked creepy, and but I think it was like harmless. I'd have to look back into it. I remember just like researching like underused, like monsters from like mythology, and it's just something I always referred to whenever I think, because I mentioned it, I think once or twice during when I was wondering whether or not Kimetsu no Yaiba was gonna end up branching out into other countries, but this girl, like these two girls, are just kind of like getting some flex time onto Pyra and Kazami. Like they seem pretty fast, like and pretty capable. I'm very curious to know like where these two really rank, and like with the yokai spell, like really like how exactly, like how far like along are they, like what percentage are they at? I imagine it's pretty high if they're sisters, but I doubt it's like 100%. Like the two marks on her face, she's definitely further than Kazami, because like Kazami's got like one mark, it's kind of like around the same length, I think, maybe a little bit smaller than this one with the 5%, but obviously he's only got one, whereas both of these girls got it. And I'm wondering if because they're like the one girl is like a half yokai, if she's also able to use it, like if instead of it just being like Kazami buffed up, like both of these girls are kind of like increased by it, which would be cool to see later. Like if that's something we know from these characters to see kind of like buffed out like way later along. It's like, oh yeah, well, their thing is they both can kind of use it. They're not going to be as powerful as Kazami and Pyra, but there's two of them that are, jumping into the fray of things. And obviously Pyra is strong, but we don't know like how exactly things are going to work out in the long run for her in regards to like combat. We'd probably get some like cool berserk chapter at some point where we can see like her more flexed out. But I mean, the rest of the chapter is pretty easy to go off of. These girls are gonna like try and teach them to do like the yokai spell, and then, like this bad guy is now like breaking out of prison, breaking these other yokai out, and I think these designs are pretty cool. Out of them, I'd say the one with the checkered pattern like cloak, and then the weird like eyeball zipper guy is probably like the ones that I'm more interested in. I'd like to see that. But there's still some like curious stuff going on. Like Pyra doesn't see like that there's really a reason to go against the fox. She calls him like a tyrant. I want to see that interaction because he's like double S rank. But Pyra, I don't know if Pyra directly is triple S. Like I'm curious to know if like they just measured Pyra's rank, because it's her species I think that's triple S rank. So I'm guessing like one of her parents or something, or like a brother or sister or whatever. Somebody that like they're in their family, but maybe it's not directly her that's triple S ranked, just because we haven't seen enough from her really to kind of like gauge that. So it would make perfect sense to me if it's like she's in that bloodline and it's potential, but she isn't directly at that level right now. But it's brought more of like the yokai spell and like what they're gonna do now when they're kind of like bait Pyra into doing it, because we know that they need to have a higher, like they said, like synchro rate. They kind of just have to have a better bond in order for the yokai spell to go up. And they're like the girls just kind of pretty much just tell them to get more affectionate, and Pyra's like, game on, let's go. It's actually kind of funny, like in this series, how like Kazami is definitely interested, but he can tell he's more nervous around this, where it's Pyra's just game, like she's ready just to get a piece. And that's a thirsty chick, but I like her anyway. I think she's funny, and I do like her character. So I am hoping this series survives. I hope it survives the axe. But we'll see where things go. I know it's gotten like, it did pretty well in its first couple ranking weeks, and then I think the last 2 weeks it's gotten a little lower. I think it'll really just depend on like when its first volume comes out. I'm hoping it does all right. We'll see. I do like this. I like this series so far, and I'd like to see it survive, but we'll see. Other than that, though, comment below, thumbs up the video, turn the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But other than that, I appreciate everyone's already subscribed, and I thank you all for listening. Bye.